Well, I guess I can't complain. Got another mower in. Got it in last night. I think I told you this in yesterday's video. He was going to bring it, and said that it's vibrating really bad. He actually hit a pretty significant piece of steel fencing. So we'll get into this. I know what's wrong with it. I'm just not going to talk about it in this video, because then you won't watch the video that I make. Well, I guess in about 5 weeks it'll be posted, because I'm that far ahead on the other channel. But it won't be a long video, but I know exactly what's wrong with it. So I'm about 5 weeks ahead on the other channel. So what, 10 videos ahead? It's not as busy as it was in March. In March, I was just swamped. And like I said, I got 10 videos ahead almost instantly. Now I'm just getting enough lawnmowers in to make the 2 a week. So I'm getting about 2 a week. I guess that's not terrible. Of course I'd like to get more, but it is what it is. I don't know, it still may pick up. I just watched another mechanic on YouTube, and he talks about the business aspect. He's got 2 channels where he talks about how to repair lawnmowers, and another one about the business aspect of lawnmower repair. And he was saying that this year has been pretty cold. He lives in Illinois, so he's not that far away from me. Well, I mean, it's a few hours away, but still, he's still on the same equator line type of thing, whatever it be, longitude line. So he says it's been pretty cold, so he hasn't gotten a lot of business, although his business is up 15%, whatever that means. But it was a strange year. So it still may pick up in May. I still suspect May is going to be the big month. That's when everybody starts breaking their mowers. And then I got another one. I know I'm fairly confident I'm going to get. It's a charging system issue. And I got another guy who says he's got a PTO issue. And he said he would bring it in yesterday or today. Well, today's just about over, and I haven't heard a word about it. I've contacted him again, and he hasn't replied. So I'm starting to think he ain't going to bring that one over. But anyway, it's still pretty consistent, even if I get one more this week. So in the last few videos, I've been talking about the returns that I've been getting and the bullying. And I just don't really know where to go with it. And I've talked about, there's 2 right now that has been driving me pretty batty and trying to figure out what to do. And it was almost to the point that I thought, well, maybe I should just get out of the business, and maybe I'm not into customer services as much as I would like to be. I mean, I'm good at improving customer satisfaction for the manufacturing industry, but maybe customer service just isn't my cup of tea. I like working on lawnmowers, but how do you do that without having customer service? I just didn't have the answer, and so I've been beating it back and forth all week with Carolyn. But the first one I told you about, he brought a mower over I didn't want to work on. And even in the comment section, people said, I need to be more forceful. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do you get more forceful? What I'm trying to avoid is people getting on Facebook and bashing me in the Facebook groups, because that's my form of advertisement. And if they start bashing me, then, it's going to be a problem. So I didn't charge him anything, and I gave him 2 spark plugs for free. And people seem to have the answer, except they don't ever answer the question. How do you keep them off Facebook? You don't. And when you live in a community as small as this one, you can't afford to be losing a bunch of potential clients. And that's what the comment section continuously implies. It's just one client, who cares? Well, it's just one client. I've been on YouTube for over 8 years now, and it's amazing how people are so willing to, it's just one view. Willing to give up that one view. I'm not willing to give it up. So the same thing, I'm not willing to give up that one customer. I'm gonna have to, because like I said in yesterday's video, no matter what I did for that guy, I gave him 2 spark plugs for free. I gave him a full day's worth of labor for free in the rain. And he still had a bad customer experience because I said I didn't want to work on it. And as much as I tried to be polite to the guy, I'm sure I came off a little bit condescending when he said, I trust you. And I said, I don't know why you trust me. I don't know anything about this mower. Because there was no information. I didn't know the valve clearances. I just didn't know them. Couldn't find them. And I feel like I gave him the best recommendation I could, which was take it to a dealer. So, yeah, the comment section are always just so aggressive when they're telling me how to deal with customers, but I'll lose more customers doing what people are telling me to do in the comment section. And the other one is I put a belt on. That's all I did. I put a belt on and I adjusted the tension of the belt. It was very loose. It was so loose that you couldn't disengage the handle, the belt, the deck, and the spring would not bring it down to the switch, the safety switch. So the safety switch had more tension in it than the tension of the belt tensioner. So when you brought it down and tried to shut off the deck, the switch would push it back up. So when you turned off the machine, you couldn't turn the machine back on because it still thought the deck was on. That's how loose it was, if that makes any sense. So I tightened it up and I put a new belt on it. And my testing process is once I have it on, and then I turn the whole belt one full revolution, one full round. That way I can see if it's dragging on anything or if it's hard to turn or, just whatever. And then I get on it and I start the engine up and I sit here and I turn it on and off, on and off, on and off. I don't know, several times, maybe a dozen times, to see if there's any noises or strange things. And then I take it for an actual test drive and cut grass. Now, it would seem to me if I'd put the belt on wrong, it would have damaged the belt right away, but it didn't. So I took it over there and she took it, she was cutting the grass. And he called me up and said the belt's shredded. And said his neighbor thinks I put the belt on wrong. I told him, okay, fine, I'll come over and fix it, I'll give you your money back. He didn't want his money back, he just wanted this fixed. And so I went ahead and ordered another belt. And I'm trying to figure out how I can get out of this because it's just an old mower. Guy just pulled up, wanted me to work on his John Deere. It's a huge zero-turn behemoth, probably a $10,000 mower, and he said it's got an oil leak, and it's the shaft seal. That's a major project. That would take a long time to work on. It would tie up the bay. So I said, I really would like to get this job, but this is just the wrong time of the year to be taking on a big job like this. This is more of an off-season job. I said, I'd rather tick you off by saying I can't take your job, take your mower, than tick you off by saying I'll take your mower and not be able to get to it because I got all these belt changes to do and blades and sharpening, all that stuff. So he seemed to understand pretty good, but that's a disappointment. But I just watched a video. I was just telling you about that guy who makes YouTube videos about the business aspect of lawnmower repair, and he even said don't take on big jobs during the busy season. So May through June, don't take on those big rebuilds or anything like that. That's an off-season job. You can tell them to come back in the fall. But what would end up happening is not only would I make him mad, I would make all my other potential customers mad because I wouldn't be able to get to their belt changes and the easy stuff. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So I was talking about this guy with his belt. So I felt like, and Carolyn did too, that he was gaslighting us because a part of us felt like that his neighbor, the belt probably fell off, and we felt like that what he was saying was his neighbor put the belt back on and then it shredded the belt. And it shredded it really bad. I'll walk over here to get it so we can see it. So got a new belt. It only took a day to get it, and I called him and I said, okay, I got it. And he says, oh no, I'm busy, you're gonna have to come over later. So 2 days later, which is today, he allowed me to come over. So This is the belt. It's absolutely shredded. So I cannot understand why I didn't see this. If I had done this with all my testing, I would have seen it happening. It would have been heating up. There have been a lot of issues with it. I'm sure I would have heard the noise. So I decided when I got over there that I was going to put the original belt on, not the new belt. I ordered a belt, but I didn't put the new belt on. I put the original on, the one that I had that was on it when I brought the machine over here. And I put it on, and I showed him the inspection process. Now, Carolyn doesn't like people, but she wanted to get to the bottom of this because she felt like we were being gaslit. So she got out of the truck too, which is absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of her. And she watched me do my inspection. I put the belt on, turned it by hand, ran it, turned it on, turned it off, and then I mowed half their yard. And I was going to mow the whole yard until the lady came out, the lady who runs the mower, and said, "No, that's okay, that's enough." So it was half the yard. I bet I ran 20, 30 minutes while Carolyn was talking to this guy. I just was so proud of her. So she's talking to this guy, and so I pull back up and I turn the mower deck on, off, just to make sure. And then I jump down and I look at everything, make sure everything's okay, and everything was fine. So I said, you know what I think I'll do? I'm gonna leave this belt on, the original belt. Even though some wear marks on it and stuff, it seems to be working. And I'm gonna give you the new belt. That way if something breaks, we can put it on later. But for now, I said, let's just go ahead and use the old belt. She said, yeah, that's great. It sounds great. So, getting in the truck with Carolyn, we're heading home, and Carolyn starts telling me that, you know, all that conversation, a half-hour conversation with the guy, and she still does not have a clear picture as to whether the neighbor put the belt back on and that's why it shredded, or if it was shredded and the neighbor saw it and said he didn't put it on right. So after a half an hour, Carolyn still doesn't have a clear picture of that. She asked questions. He was gaslighting us. He was manipulating the conversation. He didn't want to admit clearly that the neighbor put the belt on wrong, that it came off for whatever reason and it put the belt on wrong. So, but before we got in the truck, the lady said, "Boy, how do you run it? The belt didn't come off." I said, "Well, I have it all the way up, so the deck's all the way up," which I do that with all my mowers. I never tell anybody to lower the deck lower than the highest position. And I was running around in second gear, so pretty slow. She said, "Yeah, I had it way down like 3." Then she was running in high gear, so she was just putting way too much work onto this old mower. It's 34 years old. So she said, "Okay, I want to slow it down," and she's going to slow it down because she wants this mower to last another season. Now these people are in their 50s. She's in her 50s, and he's in his 70s. So I feel a little vindicated that I was able to mow half their yard, and it didn't have one little hiccup. Everything ran perfect, and it was on the original belt even. So that's even better. The point of this is it just seems to me that honesty is becoming something that is very difficult to come by. I mean, what did he actually gain by that? I mean, I guess he saved a little money, maybe, but I don't trust him. I don't trust anything he says anymore. The thing is when you try to put something over on a mechanic, they catch it pretty easy. For example, on this mower, the last time this mower was here, I sharpened the blades. That's all I did. This one right here. So I know what I did to it. Now, I'm not saying you can't work on your mowers. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying I can tell when things are done to a mower. So he brings it back, and I take one of the blades off. And my impact wrench is struggling to get the bolt off. I don't put the bolts on that tight. My impact wrench, see, it has 3 settings. So I always use the high setting to take bolts off, nuts off, and I use the low or medium setting, depending on the size, to put them back on. That way I don't struggle to get them off again. So he has an impact wrench that is stronger than mine, or you use the high setting on his impact wrench, and it really put a lot of pressure onto my impact wrench when I was trying to take it off. So I know somebody has worked on this mower since the last time I worked on it. It's not a big deal, but if this guy were to say, no one's touched it since you did it, I would know better. I just know better. So it's funny how people will tell you it's not their fault. I watched this one YouTuber and he says, people bring in chainsaws all the time and weed eaters that are burned up. And they burned it up because they put the wrong gas in it. What they do is they put the wrong gas in it, burn it up, then realize they burned it up because they put the wrong gas in it, dump the gas out, and then put the proper gas in it, the proper mix, take the mechanics and say, yeah, I used mixed gas, but it burned up. No, you didn't. So I guess I feel vindicated today, and it gives me a little bit more assurance that I can deal with these customers. It's just complicated, a lot more complicated than I like to have it. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video on my other channel. So I really appreciate it if you go check it out. So I hope I can inspire you to work through the lies, sing of your dreams. Thanks for watching.